All right, good evening. We are live. It is open season, the remote edition, back-to-back weeks. Who knows how long it'll be going? Thank you for tuning in. We've got a lot to kick around today. If teams are going to franchise somebody, they've got to do it this week. A couple teams have done that already. Chris Godwin got franchised today. So we'll be talking about that. The Patriots didn't franchise anyone, but they did bring back an old favorite to the offensive line. We'll be talking a little bit about Trent Brown and his addition. Adam Schefter says that Jimmy G is coming back in a Patriots uniform. And Russell Wilson actually clarified that he did not demand a trade. I smell BS. Team LeBron dominated Team Durant. Steph Curry was an easy winner for the three-point contest. The dunk contest, that was boring again. So we'll talk about our ideas to improve it a little bit. As we have the NBA rumor mill swirling, and Blake Griffin ends up with the Nets. We'll talk about Andre Drummond in the latest whisper. It seems like he's going to be joining either the Nets or the Lakers. I kind of have a feeling he's going to be joining the Nets, and that's just going to make that team ridiculous. But we're going to talk about all that. We're going to start it out with Dak Prescott signing his massive deal. 4 years, $160 million. He gets $75 million guaranteed this year. Yep, $75 million this calendar year. And for me, I've said this before, I would rather go back into the draft and take somebody that would be cost controlled. I mean, Dak Prescott was what, a third, fourth round pick? He's coming off a shattered ankle, and I just feel like he is not nearly worth this. And it always comes up to who's next to be paid. For me, I hate this signing. I think Dallas is going to regret this one real quick. Does anybody like the Dak Prescott signing?
I'll go first. I like it I like it because I hate Jerry Jones. I think he's terrible, and I like how Dak won in the end. They could have signed Dak for less last year. They could have signed him to a 4-year deal. Dak played like an MVP caliber quarterback until he got hurt this year. He's the heart of that team. That team should win that division hands down very easily this year. And let's face it, by the time Dak Prescott, after his deal, will be 30, there'll be another player that will probably exceed that contract. The NFL just keeps going up. TV contracts keep going up. I'm in favor of this contract.
Justin, he wasn't an MVP because his team was still losing. He was putting up top of the league numbers, and his team was bad. But here's my thing. They should have signed him, and here's why. You alluded to it. It's not about being the best. It's about being free. That's what free agency is about. He is free. And secondly, the way sports are now, it's like a hyperbolic vacuum now. It's different. They're not going to regret the Dak contract more so than they'll regret Cooper, Zeke, DeMarcus Lawrence. Those three contracts are more in total money, and they're going to get less from those three guys than Dak moving forward. So again, you can put it in a frame and say he's not worth 15% of his team's cap. He's not a top 10 quarterback. I tend to agree with you, but he deserves the money because they've invested in a win now team. You either draft your team and then you sign a quarterback, or you have a rookie quarterback and you sign the guys around him. They made the decision when he was on that rookie quarterback who they were going to sign. They signed him. If you're short, that was an institutional failure, but you don't not pay him because he panned out.
I think it's a great move. I think that they locked up one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I think with that receiving core, you better have a good quarterback, because if you don't, you're going to have a lot of unhappy guys on the outside. Those guys can turn into divas real quick if they're not getting the ball. And we saw the way Dak was spreading around with Gallup, CD, and Amari. I mean, it was awesome to watch, and I think they're just going to get better and better. CD will be the best wide receiver in the league at some point, no doubt about that. You better have someone that can get him the ball. And with Dak, they have that. They've got it secured for the next 4 years. If he drops off a cliff, you don't have to pay him. And if he's worth it, you pay him again. It's that simple. You're the Cowboys. You better have a good team. I just think that this means the end for Zeke. That's the big thing for me. I think that Zeke's probably out of there after this year at the latest.
God, I'm going to start bleeding from my nose here, guys. Everybody's on board with the Dak Prescott sign. Justin, you were saying he's an MVP candidate through the first few games. I mean, like, this guy's won what? One playoff game? You're going to give this guy $126 million? You said that the Cowboys are supposed to be the. You're saying that they're supposed to be the easy favorite this year. How many years in a row have they supposed to have been the easy favorite? They just never end up actually.
Billy, what was the problem with the Cowboys last year? Was it Dak Prescott for the first 5 games, or was the fact that their defense let up 40 points a game to like terrible competition?
Sure.
And their offensive line was completely banged up. And Dak was putting up those numbers.
Has he had a bad offensive line the other years, though? I mean, he's had a great offensive line every other year.
It's not his fault. It's not his fault that they signed. It's not his fault that they signed Amari Cooper and Zeke to those deals and DeMarcus Lawrence. Why should Dak get penalized for them making terrible decisions on the other players?
I'm just saying, if you're the Cowboys, my last thing, if you're the Cowboys, why don't you just franchise him again? Why did you have to sign him to this huge deal now? Franchise him, see how he plays off the ankle. Why not?
It gives you $14 million to play with this year. And again, we're talking about smaller windows. He was going to get paid $38 versus $23 million on their cap this year. The only year in the last 30 that the cap has gone down. So it's worked out for the Cowboys this year. When that contract becomes crippling, they will no longer have Zeke. They will no longer have money tied up in these much, much worse contracts.
They should win this division, but they probably won't.
Yeah, I second Frank on that one 100%. And they still could win the division. Mike McCarthy is a joke, though. They need to get him the hell out of that contract. That's the worst contract on the Cowboys. Mike McCarthy. Bring in a stud young college coach with the receivers you have, and they're running a no-motion offense. It's disgusting.
Lincoln Riley should be the Dallas Cowboys head coach. I thought it should have been Urban Meyer, quite frankly. I don't know that Urban Meyer is going to succeed in the NFL, but I do know that he's box office. I would have liked to have seen the circus of him in Dallas, but a much better fit is Lincoln Riley, and I'd love to see that.
Can they even get rid of Mike McCarthy this early on? Didn't he sign a 5-year deal? I'm sure he's got money tied up that would make it tough for them to get rid of him this early.
$9 million a year, right? For 5 years. And it's a lock
$9 million a year for him?
I'm pretty sure it's a guaranteed contract or something of that extent. Jerry Jones is such an idiot.
Didn't the college team pay Weiss like $6 million a year to not step foot on their campus?
Well,
another coach, they will get rid of this guy. It is not the same cap. It is not as punitive. It's not a deterrent. If he's not the guy, which he isn't, they'll get rid of him.
They said, Charlie Weiss, you either remove the McDonald's off near campus or we pay you to leave. And he chose the money. He's loyal to McDonald's.
So flipping the page, let's go to a team that's in a little bit better shape than the Cowboys right now. Talking about the Tampa Bay Bucks. Tom Brady is in contract negotiations to reduce some money on his deal, extended past 2022. Chris Godwin gets franchise tag. And Levante David signs a pretty cheap deal in my mind, 2 years, $25 million. So you're basically saying that he's worth the same amount as Kyle Van Noy on a year-to-year basis. I mean, he can't have a great agent in my mind. I think that the Tampa Bay is keeping him for an absolute steal. And I actually really like franchising Chris Godwin too. He's only 24 years old. He's a perfect receiver for Tom Brady. Sure, he had a lot of drops in the playoffs last year, but he was injured. I really think what Tampa Bay is doing to free up some room.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at Tampa Bay and you look at the deals these guys are cutting, Tom Brady effect. They won a championship. This has been a losing team for the entire time all these guys have been there. You get the GOAT in there, you win a ring. You think that they wanted to stop. They're like, oh, I won my ring, I'm done. No. They all want to keep this party going. They know what they can do with Tom Brady under center. They've got a great coaching staff. They've got a great team all around, young players on the defensive side of the ball. They've got the recipe for success. And a lot of these players are willing to take a little bit less than market value to keep that going. And I probably would myself. I mean, a lot of these guys are multimillionaires. But you know what you can't buy with money is a Super Bowl ring that you won yourself. So it's one of those trade-offs you got to make. And I think that they're making it, and Tom Brady is the reason for it.
Yeah, I mean, what is the other report that Tom Brady's pushing for Odell Beckham? He just wants as many weapons in Tampa as possible, and I hope he gets them. I'm not sure I understand the franchise tag. I mean, it goes back to what I said last segment. Like, it provides their window. They're not going to give him a long-term contract. They're not. They're going to use that money on Mike Evans when his contract is up. They might even franchise Godwin again, depending upon where their contracts line up. But there's a big bill paying for this defensive side of the ball, which is why their window's 3 or 4 years. They need to do what Seattle couldn't, which is win more than one when you have that young a core.
Yeah, and Tom Brady's even negotiating his own contract. He might extend it a couple more years and do the same thing he did with the Patriots, less money on the cap to sign a lot of these players. David's worth more on the free agent market, but where are you going to go? A lot of these times these guys get paid big time, and then they regret going there after a year or two because they suck again. They want another ring. Like Alex said, it's the Brady effect. They're going to win another championship, and Brady's going to ride everyone there, and they're just going to have to follow. The only one player that could have gotten a lot more on the market is Godwin because of his age. He's 24. If you get the free agent market, he probably could have got close to 20 a year.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're getting a lot of these guys for steals. So the Patriots made a little bit of noise. They traded for Trent Brown and bring back some protection for their question mark at quarterback. That looks like a pretty good deal. Adam Schefter has been saying that Jimmy G is going to come back to the Pats. Chris Sims was saying that he would be surprised if it doesn't happen. Guys, I like the move for Trent Brown, but I do not like to hear that Jimmy G would potentially be the quarterback for this team. I mean, maybe you sign him for cheap. Sure, he's been here before, but for my money, he's not nearly as durable enough. You probably still need to get another quarterback to feel like you have a decent option there. I don't like the Jimmy G plan. What are your guys' thoughts on Trent Brown and Jimmy G?
I like the Brown pickup because he's already been in the system. It's tough for guys to come into our offensive line, and Scar is gone, and he's already been here, already been productive, already understands the audible system. I'll take it. History of being out of shape, and I don't know who he's blocking for. Like I know he's blocking for in the run game, but from the quarterback, I don't know. And I would love it to be Garoppolo. Like I really would. I know it. I know in my heart of hearts it was the right move was to keep him or get rid of Bill. We won't go there, but I know in my heart of heart the right move was to keep him, and I'd love to see him back. I don't really care the compensation.
You would love to see Jimmy G back? You would love to see Jimmy Garoppolo back? After what you've seen from him the past few years, yes, I get the Patriots have a system. Yes, I get he understands it, and Bill clearly has confidence in him to go out and execute said system. Having said that, the durability issues, he's come up short. When the game's on the line, can you rely on Jimmy G in the biggest moments? I don't think so. I think he's hid behind an amazing running game, an amazing offensive mind in Kyle Shanahan, and an unbelievable defense in San Francisco. I mean, Rex Grossman made a Super Bowl. Does that mean that Rex Grossman's a great quarterback? Certainly doesn't. Same situation. Same exact situation as Rex Grossman and the Bears making the Super Bowl is what the Niners put together with their run. Same exact situation.
So the reason why they got Trent Brown, if they get Jimmy G, is to keep him upright and to not get him hurt. Joe Tooney is obviously going to be gone. He's out of here. You slide the guard from Michigan we drafted last year into that spot. And you have two good tackles, but to think that Jimmy G is going to come here and save the day, I don't have a lot of faith in that. But I really like. This is the first domino to fall for the Patriots in the offseason, and I like it because Trent Brown, he's still young. He likes playing here. It's a one-year deal, so he can't get fat and lazy because he's got to prove it now. I like the deal a lot.
Yeah,
I'm glad Frank didn't speak because I think he's going to bring up some BS stats about Jimmy G's winning percentage probably with the 49ers, right?
I'm not.
With a defense that carried him there.
I'm not. The Rex Grossman comparison is egregious. Like I just saw that completely. It's just ridiculous. Okay. Secondly, I didn't say, I don't want to be misquoted. I didn't say he is the savior. He's going to come here and be the savior. Like Carmelo to New York, sometimes you fall short. The point of him being here is that he has the system around him to not need to rely on him. And how are you going to say that you think that Jimmy G comes up short behind a great offensive mind like Kyle Shanahan, behind a great offensive mind who's blown 2 Super Bowl games? That guy, that great offensive mind. So that guy doesn't come up short, but Jimmy G does. I'm just saying, tell the truth. I don't expect him to come save us. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see him here, and that comparison was just nonsense.
Jimmy G is the worst armed Rex Grossman.
Wow, I'd rather have Rex Grossman than Cam Newton. But Jimmy G in this system, if you put some pieces next to him and you have a good offensive line, I think he does well here if he stays healthy. When Jimmy G has stayed healthy, he has been a good quarterback. But his problem is he can't stay healthy. That's his only problem.
1.5 games in New England?
The only full season he played, he went to the Super Bowl.
He was dragged there by that defense.
So, and then when we traded him to the 49ers when he got there, didn't he go like 5-1 down the stretch with a shitty team?
He played that was the end of the season. He was on a team that was like 0-10. They played all bad teams at the end of the year.
Really?
Teams that were like out of it. What's that?
Jimmy G carried that team to all those wins. That was him. I'm not saying Jimmy G's a savior. I'm just saying I like him a lot more than some of the options that are being thrown out there right now for us.
I understand.
Carried them to the tune of 150 passing it. Go ahead.
They took the ball out of his hands in the playoffs. They went to New Orleans and won a game in the 40s. Like that season, Jimmy G had a lot of good performances. If you want to say that at worst he's Tony Romo, that that you can lose a game 40-44 with him, fine. But he went into hostile environment and won a game that was a shootout. It wasn't that whole season that he was getting dragged. That was not Rex Grossman. If you go back and look at some of those box scores, which I know don't tell the whole story, it was not Grossman-like. That's just revisionist history. That's not facts. In the playoffs, they took the ball out of his hands. Truth. But that's not how that season went.
You don't think there was reason to take the ball out of his hand? They were scared that he was going to make a turnover if they didn't.
I think that's more of an indictment on Shanahan than Jimmy. Because I think he's done that in 2 Super Bowls. I think he's taken the ball, and the first time he did it, that guy was an MVP. And I'm no huge Matt Ryan fan, but I think Kyle Shanahan gets tight sphincter syndrome, and I don't blame that on Jimmy G. I really don't. He overcoaches. McVay does it to a point, and we're going to see with Stafford if he can loosen the reins. But there's part of that. Shanahan crippling Jimmy G is as much to do about Shanahan as it is Jimmy G. Trust me.
I don't trust you. You're wrong.
I agree. Another guy that I don't trust is Russell Wilson, saying that he has not demanded a trade after a couple weeks after naming the teams that he would actually want to go to, and saying that gave a name of 4 teams in case the Seahawks were trying to trade him. Guys, we're not going to take the word of Russell Wilson on this one, are we? I mean, I feel like he's absolutely full of crap, and I'm so tired of him. I mean, he's ruining his legacy over the last couple of weeks, asking for all these trades. Mr. Unlimited, I'm so tired of it. I mean, he's the reason why the Seahawks can't bring in this personnel because they're paying him $40 million a year. So it's really his fault.
You're that fed up with Russ, Billy?
Wow.
You're that fed up with Russ?
I'm just saying, is he not the reason why the Seahawks can't make the moves to get a better player?
Is he not the reason why they win games?
Yeah, I mean, come on. The Seahawks have tried to get O-line help and failed. It's been bad. They've spent draft picks on it. Gabe Carini's and all these other guys that they've had on the O-line, just getting Russell Wilson killed. He's running for his life back there. You have to get some better protection. Why didn't they make a move for Trent Brown? Or I haven't seen them do anything to address their O-line whatsoever yet. I mean, I don't know. I think he's got the wide receivers. I think they need to invest in protecting their star asset or risk losing him.
I have 2 things to say. First thing, I have to go back to what Billy said in the last topic is I don't know who Billy wants as a Patriots quarterback. Does it have to be like Patrick Mahomes? Because I feel like anyone else that's not Tom Brady is a problem in this system. Second off, I think a lot of Russell Wilson's downfall, just like Tom Brady's for a while, is the women in their life. I think Giselle did a lot of harm to Tom Brady as well as Ciara. All of a sudden, Russell Wilson's doing all this crap with all these different commercials and fashion and stuff like that. I love Russell Wilson. I honestly feel like he's probably the most underrated quarterback in the history of the football because he's been top 5 for the past decade. What has he been in the NFL for 12 years? He deserves everything he's got. It's not his fault that, the offensive line sucks every year. but they've given him weapons to throw to. It's just every year it's Russell Wilson to the end, and they're relying on him way too much, and he's getting older.
Come on, Justin. Come on, man.
What?
Like saying the wives are influencing them. No, they want to be taken care of. These are stud athletes at the top of their game. Like, they need to be taken care of, and they like their legacy is on the line. Tom Brady just helped negatively influence him. He just went and won his 7th ring. He's living in Tampa, doesn't have to deal with Bill's BS anymore. He's living pretty. The whole team, all of Tampa loves him. He's building TB12's brand. That was the best thing he could have possibly done.
You don't think there was for a couple years there where Giselle was holding him back from telling him he's got to retire? Brady used to be the guy that would go into the preseason workouts, win the late weightlifting competitions. Then he met Giselle. He's doing ugly commercials and everything. That affected him.
So what weightlifting competition did he win?
He won the parking spot for his first 4 years. Look it up. He won
for being early, not winning a weightlifting thing. I mean, if you're going to crap on me for not liking a quarterback, let me jump in. I'm just saying, if you're going to crap on me because I don't like the Pats' choices of quarterbacks, I mean, taking Cam Newton, who was completely fried before this year, yes, I would be happier if they would take someone better than him or draft somebody. Sure. I'm not saying I have like the craziest expectations for a quarterback, but getting someone better than Brian Hoyer, who throws 3 turnovers in a game or, can't even manage a team that he's been the backup for the last 10 years. I mean, I'd take somebody a little bit better than that. And we have Erod chiming in saying that Seattle has been cooked since they had to pay Wilson, which is exactly my point. Since they made this Russell Wilson's team, that's when they have stopped. That's when they stopped competing, when they stopped putting the money in this defense and started putting it towards Russell Wilson. That's what I'm saying.
They never put money in the defense. They hit on draft picks and then let them walk. If they were still hitting on draft picks, they'd still be winning Super Bowls.
They had one good draft. That one draft. They got Chancellor, Sherman. They got them all. And then they've done shit then.
There was no trade demand. And I understand you think it's somewhat hypocritical. No, it was an ultimatum. It was, I need you to tell me who we're drafting so that I can have a say here, or I have to go somewhere where I have a say. And that's also the Tom Brady effect, which Alex alluded to, because he just saw somebody do it at 43 and win. And now everybody who's in Deshaun and Russell's situation needs to be looking at it like, if you're not going to build around me, go kick rocks. Like, there's nothing wrong with this. It's got nothing to do with his wife. This is about my legacy. I have to win. And you're not helping me. It's got nothing to do with how much I get paid. Because if you were hitting on draft picks, you'd suddenly forget about my contract.
Have you been to a Ciara concert lately?
I mean, I will say this though: if Dak is
I'm totally kidding.
If Dak is getting 75 million guaranteed, Russell Wilson should get 150 million guaranteed. So I mean, that is where I will agree with you.
Exactly.
Quarterbacks are underpaid. I feel like a lot of the NFL stars are actually underpaid for what they're actually putting out there. And I would love to be in the middle of one of these CBA, like discussions. I can't believe they're not getting more of the revenue than they are.
The only guy that's overpaid is Kirk Cousins. Other than that, all these quarterbacks are worth what they get paid.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's about as much as I can try to hate on Russell Wilson. Obviously, you guys are not in much agreement with me tonight, and that's fine. That's
you don't like Ciara, Billy? I think Ciara's a great artist.
Well, I mean, the one thing I do like about Russell Wilson is that incredible personality came up with Mr. Unlimited. I love when they play.
It wasn't there before.
I love when they play the clips of that, like Mr. Cool, Mr. Unlimited. It's like I think Ciara helped them. I think that's where Ciara helped them, was coming up with that personality.
And sure, and if you want to say Giselle got Brady the Uggs deal, you'd probably be right. But I would hardly say that is negatively impacting their football career. This isn't a Kardashian situation.
Guys, it's a sports talk show. I'm trying to drive tensions, get things going. I haven't heard Ciara perform since 2010 or wherever. What was that song, the music video she had where she was with the motorcycle? Bill, you know what I'm talking about.
Sadly, I think I do. We'll talk about that at 8:30.
Jared Goff is not underpaid. Get that off my screen. Get that off my screen.
I'm disagreeing with Brian in terms of him having a worse character than Mr. Big Chest. I think Mr. Unlimited is the worst character in the NFL.
No, AB at the end of his Pittsburgh run was a horrible, maniacal, ego maniac. He was crazy. He is worse. He's worse than Mr. Unlimited and maybe Ray Caruth. That version of AB gotta go.
All right, let's go on to the NBA. Team LeBron dominated Team Durant. Greek Freak took home the MVP, went 16 of 16 from the floor, which even included a few threes that he rattled home off the backboard. He looked sensational. Damian Lillard looked really good too, and so did Steph Curry. And Steph Curry just winning that shootout and just making it really look easy. I know we talked about it earlier in the season, but are we surprised with how good Steph is at this point in his career? I mean, did you guys think he would be this good, this deep into his career?
Yes. With everything. I mean, the one question was his ankles. Where would they hold up? And, he's obviously got the huge ankle wraps. He's got everything. He's got his own shoe probably designed to work with those ankle wraps very well. I mean, it's really the one thing that ever could have held Steph Curry back, in my opinion, from being an all-time great was injury. He looks like he's past those issues for the most part, and I think he's going to continue for many more years doing what he's doing. His style of basketball is not a Russell Westbrook style of basketball. It's not built on speed and explosiveness. It's built on technique and playing the mental game with everyone out there, in which he's probably better than 99% of the NBA at. So Steph's incredible. I mean, he is a generational talent, and I don't think that I ever had a doubt in my mind he would continue his greatness deep into his 30s.
But you thought he'd be a 30-point guy this year?
A 30-point guy? Yes, absolutely. Career? Without Klay Thompson, somebody's got to put points on the board. They've got a young team. They've got Eric Pascal. They've got James Wiseman. I mean, Draymond's never been an offensive stud. Who do they have to help on offense besides Steph? It's his team. It's like Bradley Beal on the Wizards, except for the Warriors are still winning some games.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm targeting the wrong guy. I think maybe was it Frank who was surprised at Steph's performance this far into the season when we talked earlier this year?
No, I wondered if he could carry a team. He's going to age well because his skill set is going to age well. Like I had more concerns when he was coming into the league about his ceiling than I do his longevity now that I've seen him reach his ceiling in the league. His skill set's going to age like fine wine. I did want to see, and again, his team is what, 7th in the West? It's about where I thought, so it's not, you know what I mean? I don't know that he's going, and it's an abridged season, but if we were to play 82 games, I still am not sure he could drag this team to the same 49 wins Russell dragged his team to, but he's better than Russell. So, you know what I mean? I'm not making shit up. I'm not sure if that guy can carry a team because I've always wondered that. Because if Draymond doesn't get suspended, if Kyrie doesn't get hurt, without Durant, his career is a lot more questionable. Doesn't mean he's not better than every other point guard in his generation. Just means, yeah.
This year was about him proving a lot of haters wrong that say that he hasn't been like a top 10 player for the past, 7-8 years. Obviously, he benefited a lot from having Klay in his backcourt and then eventually getting Durant over there. But this year, I mean, he's getting more shots, which leads to more points. But his team is doing better than I thought they would. Because Wiggins, let's face it, Wiggins blows. Oubre he's decent. But Draymond Green's having the worst year of his career this year. That contract is awful. James Wiseman's a rookie, and they're 7th in the West. And it's all because of Curry for the most part. And he's staying healthy, which is a big thing.
Imagine losing Kevin Durant because you wanted to keep Draymond Green. Sorry, go on, guys.
He's the best 34th overall pick ever, Draymond Green. Worth $100 million. Again, I think he's changed the game. I know, Bill, you don't like it because you don't like the 3-point shot, but watching him and Dame Lillard hitting half-court shots was more entertaining to me than watching Giannis and LeBron do dunks. Like, that was
Is there a less impressive 16 of 16 in any game ever? I've never seen a less impressive 16 baskets with no misses performance in my life. And he didn't call bank on either one of those horrendously bad shots that happen to, by the gift of God, just go in. That was so unimpressive. They were not guarding him. He tried so much harder than everybody else in that game. Fraudulent. That game from Giannis was fraudulent. Sorry, I had to get that off my.
I thought Jaylen Brown honestly looked better than Giannis most of that game. Jaylen Brown just played half the amount of minutes that Giannis played. Jaylen Brown's shots he was making were like pretty ridiculous. I'm not a homer. I'm just saying Giannis is 16 for 16 is like Shaq just getting 16 dunks in a game. Like, it was a joke.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to break down the Celtics a little bit too, Jaylen Brown kind of played within the offense. He shot 12 shots over 23 minutes. Tatum was, he was just 16 shots in 17 minutes. Not the best stat line for him.
Mamba mentality. I love it. Take all the shots you want. Those aren't your real teammates. I don't care. Be greedy. Do your thing, Jason. Live your best life. I'm all for it. And guess what? If he made some more of those shots, we'd be talking about how incredible he is. So whatever. Let him do his thing. I'm happy with it. Him and Jaylen both look good to me. It's probably the first of many for Jaylen it's the first, but first of many all-star appearances for the both of them together. Very excited to see Jason eventually take home the MVP of the All-Star game.
My problem with Tatum taking all those shots is that's kind of what we've been seeing in the Celtics for the past month is Tatum just dribbling the ball like Harden to like the last 3 seconds of taking a fadeaway three. Like, it's an All-Star game. Do whatever the hell you want. I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't watch the All-Star game. I saw the highlights. Like, I haven't watched the NBA All-Star game in years. I watched the three-point shootout and some of the dunk contests. But from the highlights I saw, I thought Jaylen Brown played – he is in that league. I think everyone – going into the year was like, what is he? He can compete with the best of the best. I'm not saying he's a top 10 player, but he's on that cusp of being a borderline top 20 player at some point, maybe next year. And Tatum's already there, so it's exciting to watch.
Top 20 like Pierce. Yeah.
Jason Tatum, you said it was a bad stat line. I would argue it's a very indicative stat line. And I know that I pump his tires a lot. But 16 shots in 17 minutes actually sounds a lot like a Jason Tatum game. If you watch the Celtics, that's about on par. It's just that he did that in less minutes. And Justin, you also said if he hits, or I think Alex said if he hits him, we'd be talking about how great he was. Yes, if he hit him.
Exactly.
He does not have the best track record of hitting that, the clip that he takes them. He takes volume scoring in the modern day to a whole new level. Like, you have to be more efficient in today's NBA. You can't be a ball stopper. You need to be able to maximize your talents within an offensive system, and Tatum hasn't done that yet. He hasn't made any steps beyond isolation scorer. And that's why he was great in the All-Star game, and he looked just like regular Jason Tatum.
Thank you. I've been preaching this for a year now.
All right, I just got to say this. I was not really happy with the fact that Jaylen played in the All-Star game because of some of the injuries he was dealing with. He actually said that he did the shootout because he was asked to be in the dunk contest, and apparently he declined the dunk contest because he thought that might be too much on him and, did the shootout instead. I just feel like if you're even in a position where, like, you bring that up, like, clearly nobody's really doing the dunk contest anymore. But if you even bring up that rationale, this has been 2 years in a row where we've seen guys that have kind of been like questionable to play for the Celtics, but have ended up playing in the All-Star game. I just wasn't the biggest fan. I remember when guys had any type of nagging injury, you would skip out on something like that. So, for me, I don't want to like Scrooge up here or anything like that, but I just wasn't the biggest fan of him playing in the game. What did you guys think about the decision to play in the game?
Why don't you just end it up with a bah humbug, Billy? Because he's Scrooging up the place. Jaylen Brown.
Dude, if you're Ainge, how pissed are you that he played?
Not pissed at all. That's his decision. Ainge is fine with it. Stevens is fine with it. If they weren't fine with it, they would tell him that he's not playing, and they can do that. And not only that, but you have to look at the optics of it. The dunk contest is jumping way more on the knees and just running around and playing a little basketball. Is doing the dunk contest. I promise you.
Right.
Like, he was lightly moving around. No one's trying that hard. It's the All-Star game. So he's like an open court run where everyone's hung over on a Saturday and just doing whatever they want. It's a good time. It wasn't that serious.
Was anyone else mad when Kyrie played 2 years ago in the All-Star game and then couldn't play in the playoffs? Or he was like, the end of the season, he just like played like every other game, but he could play in the All-Star game? I mean, it's kind of Jalen, it's his first All-Star game and it's in his home city. I get why he played in it. I support him playing in it. The three-point contest, I don't know why he was in that because he's not a three-point shooter. But I get it. It's his home city. But to think that Danny Ainge and Brad Stevens were pumped he played in it, that's kind of crazy. I'm sure they wish he didn't, but they're not going to tell him not to because he's one of the premier talents in the NBA, and they don't want to piss him off because now it's a players' league, not a coaches or GM's league.
I feel like everyone's just got a big dump in their pants. I don't like it.
Alex.
No, it's just that what happened to Kemba last year after playing in it?
That's what I meant, Kemba. Sorry, not Kyrie.
Kemba's got a degenerative knee issue. Jaylen Brown is a young
caused by the fact that he played in the All-Star game last year.
And that he blew through his minutes restriction.
He used to play 82 games every year, Alex. What are you putting your head back for? He used to play every game.
Matt White, I wish Damian Lillard was in the three-point contest. I did not want to see Jaylen Brown or Tatum in it.
Can I say something about the dunk contest? The dunk contest has become what baseball's done to their home run derby, which is launch angle means you get a bunch of guys nobody's ever heard of that can hit 400-foot home runs in the derby. Nobody knows who these guys are. Same thing with the dunk contest. Stars don't do it, and the league is full of three-point shooters. So you end up with the last remaining guys on teams with hops, and nobody's invested because we don't know who these players are. And like, even if they start doing dunks that we see on YouTube and they get ridiculous with it, we still won't know who these guys are.
Let's talk about what we would do to the All-Star or the dunk contest to make it better. I think you should make it so that you're picking from your dunkers between the guys that make the All-Star team. That way it's like the people that people know. If you're in the voted to the All-Star game or going to play in it, you could also have to do the dunk contest. I think they should pick the 4 dunkers from there.
I think all these pussies, excuse my language, in the NBA should just
it's a family
get back
show,
into the dunk contest. I apologize. But it drives me crazy that they all think they're too good for it. Jordan did it. Kobe did it. Just because LeBron didn't do it doesn't mean that it's not a cool and awesome thing to win. Go out, be competitive. Go out, try to win that award. Who cares if you come up short? It's like, I don't understand why the love is lost from the premier players for the dunk contest. It doesn't make sense to me. And excuse my language, I'm very fired up about this. It's been driving me crazy. I don't understand it. Why can't they just participate? Why can't the studs do? Why isn't Zion in it? Why aren't, it's, oh my God, it drives me insane.
I mean, LeBron was the first one not to do it of all the all-time great dunkers. And since then, I mean, we saw Blake Griffin, we saw, I guess, Aaron Gordon, and obviously Zach LaVine's a premier talent. But I think the dunk contest kind of helped Zach LaVine and Aaron Gordon get to another level in the NBA. I don't know if it's because they aren't creative enough to think of new dunks. I mean, when Blake Griffin's dunking over a Kia, I mean, I think that lost it for a lot of people. But even when Nate Robinson was doing it, that was fun to watch. Like, now I know who Obi is or Toppin is. Like, obviously he's top 10 pick, but I couldn't have told you who the other 2 guys were, and that's why I didn't watch it. I want to see Zion in it. I want to see John Morant in it. And the reason that both of them already said they don't want to do it is crazy. Zion Williamson could be the greatest dunker of all time. He's already being talked about. Do the dunk contest. Everyone would watch it.
So Zion isn't a great dunk contest dunker. His frame does not allow for him to be a dunk contest dunker. He's a power dunker. Dunks look better when you're smaller. All right. And here's the other thing. Here's my solution for it. A, you do brackets, so everybody's matched up with somebody. B, you do an NBA bracket, you do an amateurs bracket. Winner gets $1 million. End up with the best amateur in the world. End up with the best NBA player. Get some casual fans in there. Get some marketability. We have guys that are 5'6" French guys like Kador Ziani who have been dunking over cars the long way, not the Blake Griffin jump over the smallest, shortest part of the car way. The way that people in high school can do it, actually jumping over 5 people from the free throw line. Get some of these amateurs in there, get them in there with the NBA players, make it a little bit competitive. That's my solution for it.
You need at least one elite NBA dunker that everyone knows in at least in the contest. Like the year that Gerald Green won, I don't know who else was in it. I remember, but I'm sure there were other elite players in that dunk contest. I mean, each year it just keeps getting worse and worse. So either, the commissioner needs to say that, hey, like we need 1 or 2 of the guys who are actually in this all-star game to contribute to this, or I don't know what to do because they all contribute to the 3-point contest, but they can't contribute to the dunk contest, which is crazy because no one ever talks about a 3-point contest.
Well, but it's because one of those things hurts your body. One of those things has, just like the home run derby, by the way, so it has a long-term impact on your swing. History of guys getting injured after participating in it. You guys keep bringing up Jordan and Neek and Jordan and Kobe. Great. There are a bunch of guys who have been in that contest and then been mediocre. There are a bunch of guys, a guy like Zion who has trouble playing 35 minutes a game should not be putting that much damage and torque on his knees for a contest. Not sorry. Like he should hesitate to go up for certain alleys in March NBA games, let alone a dunk contest.
I agree with you on the baseball point because so many hitters.
Bobby Abreu.
Bobby Abreu, JD Martin. No, who was the Sox guy that contributed and he sucked in the second half? Adrian Gonzalez. He was awful in the second half that year he was in the contest. But basketball players, like when they're just hooping around in the practice facility, they're not doing like crazy dunks. We see it all the time, and like when they're practicing and doing that, like you can't tell me that.
Frank, I gotta disagree with you on a couple points. I think that you were saying like bringing some like younger guys to like mix it. I think the last thing they need is like more no-namers that we don't know. I'm saying like take it from like a group of like people that they do know, like the All-Stars or something like that, and then just your point about Zion not being a good high school dunk. Have you ever seen his high school dunk contest? I mean, he's a good dunk contest. He may be big. He's not going to look as impressive as Spud Webb. I get that. But I think his dunks are still pretty spectacular, even though he's a big guy. And I don't think the wear and tear is as significant as you're saying, to Justin's point. Like, these guys are doing dunks before games and stuff like that. He's not risking his career by doing the dunk contest.
The guys you're talking about in those layup lines, A, they're now doing ridiculous James Harden plays. They're not doing those dunks unless they're at their son's AAU game. B, you're not usually talking about guys who are 6'8", 280. Those are not the guys who are doing crazy dunks and layup lines. He's not. He was in high school. He's not right now. The guy can barely play 35 minutes. I do not need him in a dunk contest. No, thank you.
Can I say one thing about Zion, though, not relevant to the dunk contest, but I remember like a month or two ago, we were talking about shitting on Zion. Looking up his stats recently, he's putting up like 25 a game. He's having like an incredible season.
He's averaging like 26 now. Yeah.
Yeah, and like he clearly like got in better shape once the season got underway. At the beginning of the season, he was out of shape. I mean, let's call it what it is.
How many rebounds does he average?
7.
Is that terrible for what? Is that supposed to be you trying to poke holes in him?
A, I'm pretty sure you both rounded up, and B, it's just
7.2.
All right, it's gone up in the last month. Good for him. Chip, cheerio. The guy needs to be a 20 and 10 guy, and he needs to be able to play 30 minutes. He also needs to be a plus defensive player. I mean, he sometimes looks as lost on defense as I make fun of Robert Williams for being. I mean, he's been a liability on defense, and he's not a double-digit rebound guy. Again, he's awesome. He's electric. I want more from him. I'm not going to just rest on he's super explosive and he scores in a short amount of minutes. I don't care that he's shooting 60%. I'd like you to do more. You're a freak of nature. And where's that rim protection that I've seen in literally AAU, college, high school? Where's all that?
Hey, isn't he 21, 20? What was LeBron putting up at 20? not 25.
No, Justin.
not
He's
26.
Justin. He's not 21. He's 20.
Okay, exactly. Sorry, 20. He is a freak of nature. He's the biggest freak since LeBron. He's going to need to get more offensive rebounds. He's like a today's Charles Barkley, undersized big man. He needs to play better defense. But in today's NBA, the best players don't play defense. I wish he played defense. I wish he got more boards, but he doesn't.
Frank, let me ask you, what were your expectations for Zion when he came into the league? You thought, like, you keep saying you want more from him. If I told you he's going to average 26 and 7, you would have said that's not going to be enough.
I would tell you that for a guy like Zion, who is only 20 years old, which is a great point, that the numbers are far more immaterial than his play. He can't look lost on defense because he's too good a defensive player. And he can't be a 7-rebound guy. He's just too good for that because rebounding is a hustle stat. And don't get me wrong, because he's been a good passer in the NBA, which I thought was an underrated part of his game in college. I do think he'll be a complete player. I want him to be closer to a complete player than an elite offensive player. Because I think for him, I think he can, in today's NBA with the guys that are guarding him, I think he should be able to roll out of bed and get good numbers. So I think that's immaterial. At 20 years old, I'd like to see him do more. Not more things elite, more things. Not look lost in certain aspects of the game.
Oh, no, he's a man's man.
Talk about being a greedy bastard. I mean, I think anybody would be happy with what's
when he played against the Celtics and he threw Tristan Thompson back on his ass, like he just put his shoulder into him. It was like, wow, this kid's 20. Tristan Thompson's not he's a big dude. I think
he
Tristan
went
Thompson's
off
pretty
against
strong
the Jazz too. Frank,
Yeah,
I know that had to hurt.
He's going to get better. He needs to play better defense. He needs to be better all around. But let's not forget that he started his NBA career months after the season started. And then I just think he's going to be even better next year. And he's 20. He's 20.
He will be the best player in the NBA at some point in his career. Zion is that good.
He is that good, which is why he shouldn't be struggling so badly where he's struggling. Again, his defensive rating is trash. And again, his defensive rating is less important than watch the games. He doesn't look like he knows where he's supposed to be a lot of the time.
What if the Knicks, and I hope Whitey's watching this, won that lottery and Zion went to the Knicks? Do you know how big he would be? Like, he's in New Orleans. No one talks about the Pelicans. Like, are they an actual franchise? Yes, maybe. The Knicks, like, that would have been blockbuster. Like, it just would have been like, this is the NBA. Zion Williamson in New York City. Even if John Morant went there, I'm just saying, like, he went to the worst franchise possible for a superstar and future of the NBA to go to.
Yeah, Justin, to your point, I think that literally proved that the NBA does not they do not force the issue with the draft. Like, they do not, it's not predetermined, because the NBA would have chose him to go to the Knicks a million times. Look, Frank, you're smirking. You don't think they would have sent him to the Knicks if they could have had? That's a dream scenario for them.
I think largely sports are untampered with. I think Cleveland twice got the first round pick because LeBron left.
And
once to get him, and once after he left.
Don't the NBA? I'm sorry.
Nope. You lost your chance.
Who owns the Pelicans? Who owns the Pelicans? Is it still the NBA?
Nope. No, it's the woman who owns the Saints, whatever her name is. But either way, when you look at what happened with the Pelicans, you have to take into account that Anthony Davis was basically leaving the franchise for nothing to go play for the Lakers, a premier franchise in the NBA. And I'll tell you what, the NBA wanted that. And to make that happen and not have a huge stir about it from the Pelicans, I think that giving them the first overall pick and Zion really, really, really was a huge piece of that behind the scenes deal. I mean, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but come on. I was born in the dark. I mean, I was born at night. I wasn't born in the dark. Whatever that thing is. Whatever it is they say. I don't know what it is. Come on. They gave that pick to the Pelicans. The draft's been rigged for as far as we can remember. Come on.
It could have been rigged for Patino to get Duncan, but we weren't that fortunate, were we?
San Antonio needed somebody. Amen, Woody.
So let's talk about the Nets making another addition. They add Blake Griffin in what I consider to be a no news signing, Alex. No news. I think they will sign somebody else that will be talked about more than I think they will get a buyout can. I think they will bring somebody else to their team that will be better than Blake Griffin, just as far as what he's going to do. I think he's kind of just like toast now. I feel like he's going to average 11-5 on that team.
He can average 11-5 and still make a huge impact on that squad, though, don't you think?
I mean, maybe he could potentially play when like Durant isn't going to play, and like maybe he could be like a nice fill-in when they don't have like the whole team plan. I seriously don't see a huge impact from him at this stage in his career.
You're looking at Jason Kidd, his second time in Dallas. You're looking at Chris Webber when he went to Detroit. You can make a lot of impact. Antonio,
I think we're looking at Chris Webber on Philly.
No. Because you said 11-5. That's about what Webber averaged for Detroit. And if he does that, that's 5 rebounds that they really need right now, especially if they're defensive. I do think he would have meant more to the Celtics than he does to the Nets. I mean, they need interior defense, and he doesn't really help with that. But Blake Griffin the last 3 years has been his most complete player ever, even though he's back to the injuries that plagued him earlier in his career. That's because he was putting Detroit on his back. Being the fourth option, what we know about great players or even super talented players as they get older, they can't be great with the same level of consistency, but you need those boys for a night. You need those boys for a quarter. They can be there. So having a Blake Griffin just gives you more guys, more of the James Posies and the Gary Paytons of the world once they became role players, guys that have indelible impact despite no longer being at the top of their game.
I mean, I agree with what Frank said. When I saw the signing, I was just like, okay. Like he could be a good role player off the bench, a couple minutes in a playoff game, hit a couple shots, make a couple big plays. But to think he's going to get 11-5, I don't think that's going to happen. Like, especially he's going to be the 5th guy. I mean, Joe Harris is still there too, putting up, a good amount of points. Like, how many shots is Blake Griffin actually going to get a game? 4, 5?
Let's ask Alex.
Sorry, I didn't realize I was muted. I think that Blake's probably looking at least probably 7 to 8 shots a game, I would say. I think that's fair. Maybe 10, some not, I don't know. I think he'll get 8 or 9 maybe the more I think about it. They really need a 4. They want to put him out there. I think he's going to get his opportunities. And you see the way the Nets are sharing the ball and how much the defenses have to focus on the perimeter defense. You don't think that's going to open things up for Blake Griffin? This is the most talented team he's ever played with by far. The Clippers team can't hold a candle to this. Kevin Durant, it may be the best player in the NBA right now. Kyrie Irving and James Harden are 2 of the top 5 guard talents in the NBA. I mean, we're looking at so much talent on this team. I think Blake's going to Frank said it perfectly. That's why I didn't add on. Like, we're going to see him play his best basketball right now. You think carrying Detroit to a losing record every year is fun? It's not.
They made the playoffs, and he wasn't healthy. He did everything he could. And for the record, I think they were still under 500. I believe they made the playoffs with 37 wins. But in doing that and giving everything he gave to that team, his body broke down. And you've seen this once before. Amari Stoudemire, when he decided to put the Knicks on his back, his body broke down. He had never been more complete, had finally understood basketball in a way that he just didn't in Phoenix. Finally was cerebral, understood, and his body broke down. He could never quite put it together. Blake Griffin, I think, has some of that because he was injured early on and didn't have the skill. I think he's never been more skilled, but he's clearly lost some of that athleticism. That's okay when you're a 4th option. To have that guy as a 4th option is like it's going to be big for Brooklyn. And I don't mean big in terms of the numbers. You can chuck those completely right out. But on nights when all of those big 3 sit and you can still win a game, because Blake had 25 and 11. That's a good game, and you need those small wins in March, in February to get you, a home court advantage, which usually matters. It doesn't without fans right now and in a bubble circumstances. I can't wait till some of these numbers start coming down. Field goal percentages right now are out of control because of the lack of fans.
So I don't ever see Blake Griffin getting 25 and 11 again in his career. I'm just be honest with you. Did you watch the Pistons this year? What is he averaging? He's averaging under 10 points a game on the Pistons. You think he's going to get 25 and 11 on the Brooklyn Nets?
Yes.
I agree with you.
Yes.
Have you guys watched him play? He has not dunked the ball once this year. 0 times he's dunked this year.
Oh, man. I'll put a steak and cheese sub on this, guys.
He
That's
shoots like
serious.
25% from three, too.
Let's
I mean, it's not
make
like
a
he's
bet.
like a huge.
That better be a D'Angelo steak and cheese sub bet.
Wherever you want.
No, and the other thing is, I have no problem with the signing. I just think they need so much more on defense. They need guys on the perimeter to play defense. Blake Griffin does not play defense.
They will
James
get
Harden-
them through the buyout market. They will get more guys. There's more people to be had. They're probably going to make some trades.
And
I'm
they're going
not
to get
worried
Andre
about the
Drummond
Nets.
too.
I'm worried about whoever the Nets are playing. They're winning the championship this year.
Do the Nets play with Monopoly money, or is it just me? Do they have like unlimited cap? How are they going to get all these guys?
Because they're buying
Veteran
out. I
minimums.
mean, are they going to get Andre Drummond now? Those are the big rumors
Yeah.
now. I mean, that doesn't even
Yeah.
seem fair. You can't even
Should
say
just
that
cut the
starting
Andre
five
Drummond out.
without laughing.
No. I am so firmly in the Nets winning the championship boat, guys. I cannot begin to stress enough how beautiful this team is going to play in the playoffs. I mean, come on. It's going to be unreal. Unreal to watch. I can't wait to see him absolutely destroy the Lakers. Can't wait. Or the Clippers, whoever comes out of the West this year. They're going to destroy him.
The Jazz, right, Frank?
That's right.
Y'all keep sleeping. Y'all keep sleeping. Also, Alex, they're the 6th worst defensive team in the league. Just so we're clear. So they are a top 10 defense. It's just top 10 bottom defense. In the league.
Whatever. Whatever.
But you've never seen a team that bad defensively win. So to be bullish on them is at worst arrogant and uninformed.
Well, I guess I'm arrogant and I'm uninformed.
Let's see.
Who do we think, it's coming out to the trade deadline's coming up soon. Do we think the Celtics will use that trade exception? Yes or no? Who do we think it's going to go on if they do?
Yes, Harrison Barnes, I believe the rumors. Let's make it happen.
I would hate that. Because I was asked to come up with the trade, I concocted a DeAndre Ayton trade, but it wouldn't work until the offseason. But it would require the player trade exception. So it would require us holding on to it until the offseason. And then it would take a couple firsts, Robert Williams and Marcus Smart, but the money could work. And he's been disappointing for them. If they get rid of him and they have Devin Booker, Chris Paul, and the cap space to get a legit third guy, I think that means more to them. Because I don't think DeAndre Ayton has lived up to the billing and the pick that he was for them. And I'd love to see him here.
What if the Celtics give 2 first-rounders and Daniel Tice for Nikola Vucevic? Does that make them a legit team?
I think if you go for, first of all, yes. The answer is yes. I do it like yesterday. I think even for Vucevic, you're going to have to give up Robert Williams. I think he's now become your last actual trade asset on this team.
Because he's good at basketball, right, Frank?
Because he's got a high ceiling and a lot of potential.
I would trade Williams for Vucevic in a second. I mean, let's be real here. Vucevic is the type of guy that can really help put the Celtics over the top. Playing unbelievable this year. He can shoot it from 3, something Williams cannot do. And in this Brad Stevens offense, what we know is it looks pretty good with a center, Al Horford, who can shoot threes. Al Horford's obviously past his prime, and we had our best times with him.
You can get him.
No.
You laugh, but
No.
look, this bench is trash. He costs no money. He'll be on the buyout market. Get him. And look, obviously our target should be Drummond, but he's going to the Nets. So we're going to need to be more realistic and get guys that we can actually get. We need a rim protector. We never go after Nerlens Noel. Give me Al Horford. Let him play 10 minutes a game. I'll take it. It's about mixing and matching at this point.
I got 2 trades that I think I would love to see happen. One would be Chris Paul for Ben Simmons, straight up. I think Chris Paul and the 76ers, that team could potentially beat the Nets, just saying, unless the Nets get Andre Drummond. And another would be Zach LaVine to Milwaukee for Drew Holiday, and then they also give a first-round pick to the Bulls. You put Zach LaVine on that team, like Drew Holiday is just not going to fit in that lineup.
Do they have first left? Didn't they trade all those first to get Holiday in the first place?
Yeah, we're talking 2030s.
4 years from now.
Yeah, just pulling nets, push them out for the next few years.
I just think Zach LaVine on a playoff team would be so good on the team and take away from Giannis from shooting.
Embiid and Chris Paul gives me a half chub. Like, I love that suggestion. But on the flip side of that trade, I'm not sure that it works. I'm not sure Ben Simmons and DeAndre Ayton are a great 2 and 3 to match up with a Devin Booker. And none of them have a winning quotient. Like, that's new. Nope. New.
Well, Devin Booker would come to the Celtics in that trade. And we just give them more.
Give me all the players that don't quite get
it. I would do that in a heartbeat.
This is a 2K trade.
Yeah, exactly. That wouldn't work, but
2K wouldn't allow that.
I just wish Chris Paul. I want to see him win a championship.
He should have gone to Milwaukee. That was the move.
Yeah,
they messed up. That was the move. Him going to Milwaukee was the move.
Well, the move for us is going to be calling this one an episode. We appreciate everybody for tuning in. We'll catch you next week, same time, same place. And everybody take care till then.
Yep.